This is Sabaahul Muslim.
Thursday mornings, we have our community profile. And with us in studio this morning, we have well-known journalist. That's just one cap amongst many caps that he's worn in his life. But welcome to the program. Assalamu alaikum, Budisak.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Let me start with your name. I mean, the other day we were talking in the program about nicknames that become so common that people don't know the person's actual name.
That's true. Well, it's a nickname that I got when I was where I grew up in a farm, and being the youngest one, Klein Puti and
Butiki.
Klein Puti, Butiki, and Puti has stuck ever since then. But my real name is Muhammad.
Muhammad, mashallah, mashallah. Now, I mean, I don't know where to start. Right? Let's start with your early life. Where were you born? Where did you grow up? What are your earliest memories?
Well, I'm a Platalander by nature. Grew up on a farm called Modderfontein, and then Klipdrop, where the old Shalimar Resort was.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly where I grew up. And primary schooling was Mias Farm.
Oh.
From 1951 to 1955. Then high school at Lenasia High, where now Signet Terrace is.
The old Lenasia High.
The old Lenasia High, the prefabricated building. And then from there, jumped around a couple of schools, Congress School for a year. And then I did my matric at Patratasan Indian College, where the late John Harris was my history teacher. And that's it. That was my education.
So journalism, was it something you wanted to do from an early age, or it just kind of happened?
No, it's something I wanted to do for an early age, but there wasn't any place where I could study journalism. So I entered what you call the University of Life, which is a newspaper, the old Golden City Post. I don't know if people remember the old Golden City Post, mainly a black or a non-white newspaper, which was in Elof Street Extension. And most of the journalists there were black journalists. And I did my freelance. I was freelancing for them, mainly sports, but they were hard drivers, and they sort of tutored me, mentored me. And from there, I did freelancing for the Rand Daily Mail Extra. And then eventually in 1976, I joined the Sunday Times a week before the June 16 riots.
Yeah, I mean, I remember growing up, the Sunday Times used to have that extra.
Yeah, I started with the extra because
I would remember your articles featuring there with a small picture of yourself.
And yeah, that was, in fact, I started there, like I say, a week before the June 16 riots. But the Sunday Times had a couple of extras. They had the Indian extra, they had the colored extra, and they had the black extra. And that was the height of apartheid, so we could only do Indian stories as such at the beginning.
So pretty much your whole career was in journalism, right? Including radio. You did a program on radio for many years on Monday nights.
I was with radio as well, and I had a little, how can I say, freelance stint with Capital Radio, reporting on the old Federation.
In the John Berg's days?
Around those days.
Okay.
And of course, now and then on the old Radio Lotus, which was, I can't remember what was it, when they started the old Indian radio station it was in Elof Street at that time.
Okay. And I mean, how many years in total did you spend in journalism then?
Look, when I left school, I worked full time as a librarian for a company in Pretoria. That was my first job. And then in 64, I started working. And I think 66, I started with my freelance work. Then I joined a company in Johannesburg Central, also as a librarian. It was a export promotion company. And then, all the time I was doing full-time employment with another company and freelancing with newspapers. And it was only in 1976 in June that I joined the Sunday Times on a full-time basis.
Okay, so here locally, I mean, you were also involved in the Lenasia Times with the late Wahid Kamaruddin. Then I think you had your own paper for a while, the Southern Globe, if I'm not mistaken.
Southern Echo.
Southern Echo.
The Southern Globe was a Lenasia South-based paper. It's still in existence.
Okay.
It's called the Globe now.
And then you did a lot of mentoring of young and upcoming journalists.
And yes, because while I was with the Sunday Times, I helped Wade Kamruddin with his Lenasia Times. In fact, at one stage, I used to rewrite the whole paper for him because he had a lot of freelancers, and those people used to write like essay type stories, and then I used to rewrite it more in a journalistic way for him. And then when I retired from the Sunday Times in 2007, at that stage, I was in the investigation and training unit.
Right.
I was an accredited journalism assessor and a trainer, journalism trainer. But before that, I used to mentor journalists, help them. I won't say train them on, but help them. People like Fakir Hassan, Iqbal Kafoor, and all these people. And whoever came for assistance, I was there to help them. But I trained a lot of journalists that eventually joined mainstream newspapers.
Yeah, so they've acknowledged you recently as well, giving you the Order of Legendary Lenasians. Tell us what brought you to Lenasia, and how many years have you been here now?
Well, I've been in Lenasia since 1964. I was one of the pioneers of. I'm still one of the pioneers of Lenasia. We moved to Lenasia in 65, when it was still a rainbow and just part of Greyville, and rainbow was just house cap, no tar roads, no sewage system, no electricity. And I've been in Lenasia
Similar
ever
to
since
like
then.
today with the load shedding and all that
I
you
was,
went
yeah.
through.
And when I got married, I moved into the first flat in Lenasia, which is now where Morgan's is. It was Khan's Flats. It was an incomplete building. I moved in there. And then in order to get a house, I moved out of Lenasia to go and live in Fitas for them to kick me out. And I moved back into Lenasia, into Extension 7, and I've been there since 1979.
Now, when you look back at your life in journalism, life in general, what would you say are some of the lessons that you've learned that you could share with others?
Well, one is, in journalism, you learn to listen and tolerate people, and don't jump to conclusions. That's why my thing. And treat everybody as humans.
Hmm.
There is no like I grew up in a place like Nuclear before coming to Lens, which was a non-racial area, and treat everybody irrespective of race, color, religion as human beings, and be how can I say, approachable. Don't be aloof. Don't be like superior to anybody else.
Now, what are your thoughts when you look at the state of journalism these days? There's a lot of criticism that it's the copy and paste era now with ChatGPT and all of that. It's become easier in a way, but the quality, some would argue, has dropped. You've also got different platforms now. I mean, journalists are not only restricted to writing for newspapers or reporting for radio or TV. Now you've got social media, you've got live tweeting and posting. How have the dynamics changed, and what are the positives and negatives of it as you look back at it?
Journalism has dropped, my opinion, and it has lost that human touch. There isn't that human touch anymore. I mean, a typical example, when they asked me to come in today, I said, I don't want to do it over the phone. I want to be there personally because I want to see the person that I'm talking to. And the same thing applies in journalism. When you're talking face to face to the person, you get that human touch, that human element involved. Now, and nowadays, basically, you go into Mr. Google and get all your information from there.
Yeah.
There is no personal. I want to interview Mr. Maulana Sullivan Robert. I don't go and see him personally. I look up Google and get all his information there. And half of the time, that Google information is incorrect. So, it's the main thing is it's lost that journalism has lost that human touch. And of course, there is always biasness, and we see that especially in the mainstream Western newspapers. It's they take sides. Now in journalism, you're not supposed to take sides. Immaterial what your belief is. I mean, you're sitting there, you're a Maulana, you're a Muslim, but when you're reporting on news items, you report it as is. There is no religion involved.
What would you say to parents whose kids are about to make a decision on which career to pursue, or to those kids themselves who are deciding, okay, what to do? if you were to, motivate them and say become a journalist, what would you say in order to sell that to them?
Well, that was a question a lot of Muslim parents asked me before, and I still maintain that if you want to become a journalist, especially a male, go ahead. But for a female, I would say don't get into mainstream newspaper journalism. Rather, get into magazine journalism. And like in the if you want to get involved in the corporate world, be very careful, especially if you're a Muslim, because there's a lot of sidechecking. And if you want to climb the corporate ladder, your iman must be first. You understand? Because if you got to socialize with with your editors and your seniors if you want to climb the corporate ladder, and if you're not strong with your iman, I mean, I've had colleagues, Muslim colleagues, who've climbed the corporate ladder by how can I say, dropping the iman, and that's something I did not do, and I'll never do that. You don't forsake your iman for worldly pleasures and climbing the corporate ladder.
Absolutely. Anyway, congratulations on the award that you received again. I hope you're enjoying your retirement, or I'm sure you're busy with different things, but just taking it a little bit more easier.
And I appreciate
and we wish you all the best, inshallah. May the community continue to benefit from you for
inshallah. I hope so. They benefited. I don't know. I do it for the pleasure of the Almighty.
Allah accept, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
That was our community profile for this week. Buti Ishaq, a retired journalist. It's just gone 26 minutes past 8. A quick nasheed break.